Hi, I'm Paige,
And I'm Jackie.
and our project is on how climate change
Change affects
affects
Inuit
Inuit communities.
communities. Click it. There we go.
Okay. So the first thing we want to discuss is grocery prices. So I have a few quotes. The estimated cost of a basket of healthy food to feed a family of four in Maine shot up by nearly 62% between 2011 and 2021, according to data from the program. And these prices are in Canadian dollars, but it's still like
It's
in
about the same.
yeah. And a 2 pound pack of black plums going for 15.29 and a 1.42 liter bottle of Crisco cooking oil selling for 21.49. And this is in 2023, so the prices now would be even higher than this. And then in Nunavut, 70% of Inuit adults live in food insecure households. This is 8 times the national average of food insecurity in Canada. So it shows like the huge disparity that like Indigenous people face. The grocery prices for Inuit communities are extraordinarily high. This will only continue to skyrocket as their climates change. The Canadian government has done very little to help this fix this broken food system and help Inuit communities put food on their tables. You can see in this picture that a 24 pack of 500 milliliter Nestle Pure Life water bottles is $104, which even in US dollars is like 90 some dollars, which is insane for water. Um, the public history application, grocery prices being incompatibly high is not unique to the Inuit community, but the Inuit people face it on a much larger scale than any other community. In fact, they have the highest rate of food insecurity in any developed country. Influencers showing these prices online help bring awareness to the problem, hopefully gaining more support in their fight for better help from the government. Food is a human right, not a privilege, and the people responsible for this should be held accountable for this human rights violation.
So next, what we want to discuss is housing issues. So a quote from Canadian Geographic states, "The housing needs in Inuit communities are the highest among all populations in Canada, with 40% of Inuit living in overcrowded housing compared to 6% of Canadians as a whole. In 2011, the core housing needs, meaning the number of people needing access to suitable housing, was 33.6% for Inuit compared to 12.5% for Canadian-wide." So federal intervention forces had forced communities to relocate, a lot of it due to climate change as well. And high costs of living are associated with these communities. Plus them a lot of the housing is very temperate. Temperate. Yeah, yeah. Um, so with the high cost of living and low level income for Inuit communities, it's not good at all. The federal government's National Housing Strategy, a 10-year, $40 billion plan announced in late 2017, and subsequent policies and programs must take into consideration how these high costs drastically and negatively impact life in Inuit communities. So government needs to work with the people, and they're really not doing a good job. So hopefully that'll get better with time. And overcrowding has a lot of effects on the people, including causes distress. It affects work, education, and families very negatively, and it increased health problems in the youth, with an average age in these communities being 23.
Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is erasure of tradition and how climate change affects this. Elders no longer can predict safe travel routes on thinning ice, and animal migration patterns are changing. This is heavily impacting how they teach their youth their traditional hunting skills, as they can no longer take the routes traditionally taken. And most of these areas that we use for our travel are not usable, and due to lack of snow, they are not really navigable. So, similar to the last quote, these Inuit communities are not able to pass down these traditions of hunting and of their traditional land because of the lack of snow and climate change.
And with warmer weather, younger people are less likely to learn the traditions because they're just not applicable anymore. Such as the migratory patterns of fish, which are changing, which there are a lot of words associated with like events and traditions that happen seasonally. And so these are just going to go out of use. And another example of tradition being lost is that of a long tradition of burying fish and other foodstuff in the winter for fermentation, and warmer weather is taking this tradition away.
Okay, so the public history application of this entire project. Public history often contains very sad stories like that which the Inuit communities are facing due to the effects of climate change and colonization. A show of emotions at a changing world and cultural trauma is very warranted.
So a quote from Richia and Chomsky states, disciplinary norms requiring separation between the self and the subject need to be rethought in light of these contemporary contexts. Methodology, auto theory, and ethnography are relevant strategies for studying cultural trauma. Nevertheless, it is important to recognize the self in the scholarship and varying methodological approaches. My students have a right to their tears, as do my collaborators, as do I. We all have the right to be human in the face of overwhelming destruction and tragedy, even if our human messiness destabilizes the tropes of humanistic inquiry. It is our task then to find the space for the humanness in our research as we do increasingly positioned as co-participants in cultural trauma, which very much relates to this project as a lot of Inuit communities are in very troubled times. So a show of emotion is very warranted.
Yeah, and we hope that the new Canadian government can further this help and plans that have been put in place but haven't really been followed through.
These are works cited. Thank you
Thanks.
for listening.